Ladies and gentlemen, last night it was announced that Jimmy Kimmel has been indefinitely suspended by ABC and their affiliates after the blatantly false statements that he made about the assassination of Charlie Kirk, saying that the person that did it was MAGA. And I'm going to give the full timeline, and it's so shameless. And I reacted to this on Tuesday. Kimmel said this on Monday night. If we remember back when the assassination happened last Wednesday, everyone rushed. The left said, oh, it's a groyper, it's a right winger. We all said, based on all the evidence, it looks like it's somebody that's a leftist. And then we got all the details and everything. And by Sunday and Monday, even the dumbass liberals were saying, all right, let's try and swing it now to make it a sappy trans love story. And they were trying to pull that. But this was Monday night. So this is almost a week after the assassination. Kimmel and the people giving Kimmel this information, they're all leftist researchers, I'm sure. Kimmel comes out and implies with basically 100% certainty that the shooter was MAGA, was one of supposedly our own, saying he was a Trump supporter, and then doing this half joke about Trump supposedly not caring about Charlie Kirk, as if that's a reason to minimize the assassination. This is really disgusting what's happening here. And now the left is trying to swing it and crying and saying, boo-hoo, this is so sad because Trump is against free speech, and they're trying to say the administration threatened ABC and the affiliates, and that's the reason this happened. And there's been rumors about possibly Erica Kirk suing ABC. I don't know if that's true or not. I don't want to say anything out of turn, but we will break all of this down. This is more liberal cope. I don't even think there's a single thing or shred of evidence that says the administration purposefully pressured ABC to indefinitely suspend Kimmel. And apparently it's also been reported that they offered Kimmel the opportunity to apologize, and he didn't do it. And now they're saying you need to apologize, and then they'll possibly let him back on the air. And they're also going to be airing a remembrance of Charlie Kirk supposedly on Friday night in place of when Kimmel's show is at, which is, I believe, 11:30 Eastern. It is a late night show in California, and it appears on the East Coast 11:30. And so this is what Kimmel said. It's important to understand, and I'll explain all of this on why ridiculous it is. But this was Monday night. This was not 2 days after the shooting, 3 days, whatever. This was almost a full week after the shooting. He went on after the weekend, Monday night, late night, and he said this.
We hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them, and doing everything they can to score political points from it. In between.
And so he says the MAGA gang is doing everything they can to try and swing Tyler Robinson, the assassin, as anything other than one of them. Saying that 1000% he is MAGA. And that supposedly Trump supporters are trying to score political points over this assassination as the laugh track reigns in the background, and it's, oh, it's funny, haha. Charlie Kirk died from a MAGA supporter. Of course, all of it's false. I reacted to this on Tuesday night in one of my live streams, and I said it's the blind leading the blind. I didn't think anything would happen because of this, just because this is what Kimmel says a lot. He's a blatant liar. He misrepresents many. I mean, this is an obvious misrepresentation. There's no other way to say it. If there is a single liberal saying that this kid is right-wing, they are blatantly lying at this point, based on all the facts that we have, based on the statements from the family members, based on the trans boyfriend, based on the note that he left under the keyboard from the messages in which he said Charlie Kirk was too hateful. Oh yeah, that sounds like a far-right person. Obviously, it's ridiculous. But you have research. I mean, who is researching for this dude for this show? Or is this just him going off the reservation and saying, I'm so liberal? And it's important to understand this is the ultimate smoke and gun on this leftist ideology and how it contaminates young people, and they can't cope with it. So it has to be a lie, because what else could it be? You know, they've tried saying other things like it's this weird, oh, he was in love with the trans partner, and so he did this for the trans partner because Charlie Kirk was so bad. That's the level of cope we're at now. That's the level. And so that's the first statement. And then he does this thing where he shows Trump talking about a ballroom. And I've seen many liberals reference this clip like it's some gotcha. And, oh, Trump doesn't care about Charlie Kirk. They're trying to delegitimize the assassination. They're trying to delegitimize political violence when it's their party that's committing it. And then they laugh about it and try and make a joke. I mean, this is him making a joke about Kirk being assassinated. And you could say, well, it's dark humor. Yeah, it's dark humor when you blatantly lie and misrepresent details to try and boost up your own party. Really? In a moment like this, you really think that's the right thing to do? And then it seems like ABC saw it and there's a lot of hate. But honestly, I didn't even see there be this crazy backlash over this. It's not like I saw something to where the Trump administration saw this and they're like, oh, we have to come down hard. This was just ABC realizing that, and maybe getting a little bit of pressure from people that were very disgusted by it, but realizing that this person said something that's completely false and said it in a way for self-benefit, for his own party's benefit, and to manipulate and try and use this assassination as a way, because he's saying Republicans are trying to score political points because we're saying the kid was potentially Antifa, but definitely a leftist. Well, he's trying to score political points by blatantly lying about the kid, saying he's anything, he's not anything other than one of MAGA. And so it's a complete lie. And then it's this funny, oh, Trump doesn't care about it. He's talking about his ballroom. Let's see what he says here.
Between the finger pointing, there was grieving. On Friday, the White House flew the flags at half-staff, which got some criticism. But on a human level, you can see how hard the president is taking this.
My condolences on the loss of your friend Charlie Kirk. May I ask, sir, personally, how are you holding up over the last day and a half, sir?
I think very good. And by the way, right there, you see all the trucks? They've just started construction of the new ballroom for the White House, which is something they've been trying to get, as you know, for about 150 years. And it's going to be a beauty.
Yes. Okay. He's at the fourth stage of grief, construction. Demolition.
Right, and so they're trying to minimize it. I mean, obviously, Trump's saying that, you know, he's not going to come out in public and talk really about that. But look, the point here is it was the first part. The first part is what they got him on. It's a blatant lie. It's a blatant misrepresentation. And this really is what the blue anon, this is what they are. The blind leading the blind. There's so many liberals that just don't know because they're not told by the influencers. The influencers won't tell them that this kid was a leftist. And so all of these normie liberals who get their news from normie liberal mainstream sources, they just don't know. And remember what the news reporter on the mainstream source was saying? He was like, oh, it was this passionate and this beautiful love. That's what he was saying about the text messages with the trans boyfriend. I mean, that's where we're at. Jimmy Kimmel reportedly livid over ABC polling live as Trump cheers great news for America. So Kimmel's reaction has been very, very angry. ABC News, 87% of Democrats view Trump as a fascist. 47% of Democrats say the rise of fascism is their top political concern. These people don't even know what fascism is. It's impossible based on the way the founding fathers set up the government for it to be fascist. If Trump was a fascist, he would try and dissolve the Constitution and eliminate Congress. And so they don't even know what it is, and they're saying it's fascist. You can say Jimmy Kimmel suspended. Sinclair says its local ABC stations are airing Charlie Kirk Remembrance on Friday during Kimmel's time slot. So there was something behind the scenes that happened. They've also demanded Kimmel apologize directly to Erica Kirk and the Kirk family and donate to Turning Point USA and the Kirks. Quote, the special will also air on all Sinclair stations this weekend. In addition, Sinclair is offering the special to all ABC affiliates across the country. Wow. That is a lot. So there might have been a little bit of executive pressure when you get something like that. But either way, I mean, let's just break it down when it comes to Kimmel. This is left-wing propaganda. It's the same thing as Stephen Colbert. This is pure left-wing slop. Nobody is saying we need this crazy amount of right-wing propaganda. I mean, you've got someone like Conan O'Brien He's even left wing, I think, but at least he's more in the middle. People don't really care. It's not like he's extremely right wing, and we want everyone to be extremely right wing. But this is clear left wing slop. He blatantly lied about it. He made their network look bad, and he got reprimanded for it. Boo fucking who? I don't know what to tell people. It has nothing to do with freedom of speech. If this was a freedom of speech issue, and look, I don't want to do this thing like because now it's like the opposite, right? Now we're the ones having to defend the whole idea of, oh, it's technically not free speech when you're talking like on TV, on cable, or on social media. But this is, to be fair, not a free speech issue. If the Trump administration arrested Jimmy Kimmel over this, then yes, that would be a violation of free speech. The network, I mean, his job is to talk. It's like, if you don't believe Kimmel can be fired for saying anything, then how can he be fired at all? His job is talking. If he doesn't do a good job talking and he misrepresents things and he makes ABC look bad, it's going to be a problem. And obviously, there's a large percentage of the country that is experiencing a very raw moment when it comes to the passing of Charlie Kirk. And on top of that, the liberals only added gas to the fire when they started cheering it. And even their politicians, these are grown people, elected officials, coming out and saying, well, it's actually Trump's fault. Trump is the reason that this happened, even though now we can see all of the leftist channels. We know who did it. And Trump is labeled Antifa a terrorist organization. It's about time. And I'm thinking the umbrella under Antifa is going to be pretty large. The point of it is to mainly cut off a lot of this leftist funding that really causes them some serious pain in terms of being able to spread their propaganda. And so maybe it'll be a widespread thing to where, well, it's Antifa, but the bubble is connected so many different ways. It's like a spider web. And we can eliminate a lot of their funding and potentially charge some of the people that are funding with racketeering. And so we'll have to see if all of that ends up happening. I know Trump hit Antifa. Maybe I'll do a separate video on that explaining it, but that came out yesterday as well, last night. But this doesn't, I mean, it does, honestly, just because it's we see Kimmel say stuff like this. And remember, Kimmel was crying. He was crying right after the election when Trump won. He was crying tears of sadness. And this is a grown man who had like a day to spew on it. And he's like trying to cry about like, oh, he's this multi-millionaire who lives in a gated community. And he's so sad for everyone else. It's just completely disingenuous, especially when it comes to a U.S. election. Give me a break. But either way, Kimmel suspended. We'll see for how long. It seems like he's being forced to apologize. I don't know. I mean, Kimmel could really try and swing this and say, well, this is America. I'm not apologizing. I am not backing down. And try and get all the left to support him. And we'll see what ABC decides to do if that ends up happening, if this is serious. But this is one of those things to where it is such a terrible look. It's like you said something that was completely false to try and it is ironic, the idea that the statement that he was making was trying to say Republicans are trying to use this assassination for political gain, when that's exactly what he was doing. And he was the one misrepresenting facts to do it as well and manipulating his poor audience. Because obviously a lot of useful idiots, a lot of people, I mean, there is a clap track and everything like that, but a lot of people just clap at anything. And it's like, well, he's MAGA. We don't know. But Jimmy Kimmel said so we're going to believe it. And so that's what you see with a lot of these people, and it's unfortunate. But we'll have to see what ends up happening to Kimmel. Maybe it'll just be, it looks like maybe a suspension if he decides he wants to come back and apologize. And again, he can say he doesn't want to apologize, but this looks terrible for him because this woman just lost her husband in a heinous shooting that was recorded, that millions and millions of people saw. So you don't want to apologize to her really for misrepresenting the facts for your own party's political gain after it was known. See, if he said this Friday, we can say, well, this is liberal boomer slop. He's obviously lying, but they were all saying it on Friday. You've got Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then Monday night, he goes on air and still says this kid is MAGA. At that point, we knew about the trans boyfriend. At that point, we knew that the family had said, yes, this kid was the only leftist. This kid was a leftist, and the point is to figure out why he felt the need to shoot Charlie Kirk in the neck, because that is an action that it's going to very likely require some serious. I mean, there's going to be many people involved, you would think, in this kid formulating an opinion that would cause him to ruin his own life to kill Charlie Kirk. And so that's what we really need to be thinking about. But people trying to equate this to free speech, it has nothing to do with free speech. The basis of free speech involves government. And it's not like Trump is arresting Jimmy Kimmel for this speech. He's not going to be arrested. There's nothing that's going to happen to him in terms of the law. But obviously, if Kimmel becomes a liability for ABC with his statements, and there's a lot of hatred that gets directed towards ABC, it is going to be a problem for them. And it was a problem for them. Now, liberals are trying to say, well, the administration was involved in bully tactics or something. I don't even know. I'm not sure. I don't think there's been any proof of that. And you would think ABC and the liberal networks, they wouldn't really want to fall. But I know Trump, people say, well, he threatens to revoke licenses and things of that nature. But the point is, when you look at what Charlie Kirk said, it was completely false. Everybody knew it was false. It's a very raw time. I am a believer in free speech. That's why I say some of these very leftist people, they got to have free speech, And obviously it's not free speech online, but even that, it's such a gray area. It really is. But this is something, I mean, he's employed. So he's getting paid money. This is not like he's going out in public and randomly saying something and being arrested because Trump doesn't like it. Although there is the idea that they are trying to do stuff like that with Israel, not with the United States. And I'm definitely against that. But I also think that entails a few other things. It requires you to not be a citizen of the United States, or you're here temporarily on a visa. So there are a few things involved when it comes to that. But either way, Kimmel, we'll see if he ends up apologizing or trying. I mean, it's such a terrible look. What are you going to galvanize around liberals and say, that poor woman who lost her husband, I'm not going to apologize to her because Trump's a big orange baby? Is that really what we're going with? I mean, the guy said something that was clearly false. Everybody knew it was false. Well, I guess liberals don't know, but anyone that's been following this case or looking into Tyler Robinson knew it was false. The kid is a leftist. You waited 5 days and then said that. I don't know who your researchers are. I don't know who your producers are. I don't know if it's just him doing it himself, but it's a terrible look. And it is completely false what he said. And then he said, well, because Trump supposedly, because he was talking about his ballroom, doesn't care about the assassination, that's a tactic that they do to try and minimize the impact of the assassination and what it's going to have. Remember, liberals were making videos right after the assassination saying Charlie Kirk is not martyr material, it's not going to do anything, because they at least had the self-awareness to know this is a big figure and this will affect things politically in some way, but they were trying to already cover themselves and saying, this is not going to do anything, we're going to be fine, we can just eliminate one of the top conservative influencers and nothing's going to happen to us. This is the problem with the no accountability on the left. And now they're getting accountability and crying like little children because they have to face it. And so that's what's happening here. But either way, guys, we'll see what happens to Jimmy Kimmel. That's going to do it for this video. Make sure you like the video down below. Also, follow me on X. Link to that's always in the description.